I am telling you right now, if you bring one more of those massive three-ring binders into this studio, I think the desk is genuinely going to collapse. I was I was mid-thought about the sheer scale of the Indian film industry, and you just dropped what looks like a literal encyclopedia of notes right in front of me.
Oh, come on. It is not an encyclopedia. It is just, a precisely categorized archive. I cannot help myself. When we have a stack of dispatches this thick, spanning literally over 70 years of cinema history, I need color-coded tabs.
You actually color-coded them.
I absolutely did. I've got the 1950s in blue, the modern box office in red, and off-screen spectacles in a very chaotic, highly appropriate neon yellow.
Huh, I love it, honestly. Your enthusiasm is exactly why we do this. And frankly, we need that kind of boundless energy today because our mission here is massive.
Huge.
So welcome to today's deep dive. Whether you are a casual fan who just, likes a Good Friday release, or you are an industry insider actively trying to read the tea leaves of the 2026 box office, we have curated this conversation specifically for you.
Right, because there is just so much noise out there right now.
Exactly. We are looking at a colossal stack of the latest IndiaRevue dispatches. We are talking over 30 distinct headlines. We've got a historical flop from 1954. We've got high-stakes box office clashes set for late 2026. And we have intimate, diamond-studded celebrity weddings.
Which is a wild mix when you say it all out loud like that.
It really is. So our goal today is to sift through all of this and uncover what these stories actually tell us about the beating heart of the entertainment industry right now. We want to give you those aha moments, but without that awful feeling of information overload.
Because when you look at all these headlines in isolation, it just looks like a wall of noise. You see a box office number here, a paparazzi video there, a director giving a fiery interview somewhere else.
Yeah.
But when you lay them all out on the table, which I have literally done today, as you pointed out, you start to see the connective tissue. You see the patterns of how storytelling is changing, how the actual business mechanics are evolving, and how the very definition of a movie star is shifting right beneath our feet.
Okay, let's unpack this. I'm going to throw a playful challenge your way to kick us off.
Okay, I am ready.
I want you to find the connective tissue between the defining voice of 1990s family values director Suraj Barjatia and the hyper-violent, blood-soaked world of a movie like Animal. Because according to our notes, Barjatia himself has drawn a line right between them.
What is fascinating here is that on the surface, it sounds like an utter contradiction, but it is actually a profound observation on character psychology.
How so?
Well, the man who gave us the ultimate, gentle, sacrificing, pure-hearted archetype in the character of Prem was recently discussing intense modern protagonists. He specifically pointed to the leads in Kabir Singh and Animal,
Right.
and he called them sides of the same coin as his Prem. He argued that both extremes are ultimately driven by love.
But wait, I have to push back on that a little bit. When you think of Salman Khan playing Prem in the 90s, you think of a guy who wouldn't even raise his voice, let alone pick up a weapon. He is driven by devotion to family, by a very pure, almost sanitized version of romance. And then you look at Ranbir Kapoor's character in Animal, who is driven by a chaotic, destructive, deeply aggressive love for his father and a deeply toxic approach to romance.
Yeah, is a huge leap.
To hear Barjatia say, yes, that is the same core engine, just a different vehicle that is mind-blowing. Isn't that just giving a philosophical pass to pure on-screen brutality?
I do not think it is a pass, it is a structural analysis. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it tells us so much about the shifting cultural lens on romantic archetypes in mainstream cinema. Barjatia is looking past the actions and analyzing the raw motivation.
Okay, I'm tracking with you.
In the 90s, the cultural ideal was restraint. Love meant sacrifice. It meant putting the family unit above the individual desire. So the cinematic hero reflected that. Today, the cultural mood is arguably more individualistic, more anxious, and definitely more tolerant of exploring darker psychological impulses.
So the anti-hero is running on the same fuel.
Exactly. The modern anti-hero is driven by the exact same primal emotion love or the desperate need for it, but it manifests as possession, aggression, and boundary breaking. The fact that an elder statesman of wholesome cinema can recognize this shows how sophisticated the conversation around character building has become. He is saying the fuel is the same, the engine just runs a lot hotter and louder now.
That is a great way to put it. It also shows a certain level of audacity from modern directors to push those boundaries. Which brings me to another major piece of news. Anubhav Sinha has broken his silence.
Oh, this was a fiery interview.
It really was. We've got a report where he openly called out Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan. He admitted he was angry and specifically said that there was no filter for audacity.
This raises an important question about the power dynamics between the director's chair and the superstar's vanity van. Historically, in massive commercial Hindi cinema, the superstar has often been the ultimate authority. The film is built around their persona, their dates, their mood.
Right, they are the franchise.
Exactly. What Anubhav Singh is expressing, that raw, unfiltered anger, is a pattern we are seeing more and more. Directors who have found their own distinct auteur voices are increasingly vocal about the limitations and frustrations of working within the rigid framework of a massive superstar's established image.
But is he just being bitter? Sinha is someone who pivoted hard in his career to make very socially charged, gritty, issue-based cinema. When a director like that collides with the monolithic brand of a Khan, there's bound to be friction.
Oh, definitely.
But for decades, the industry PR machine worked overtime to present this image of a big, happy family on set. Now you have directors openly saying, actually, I was angry, and the audacity was too much. It feels like the era of the untouchable superstar might be fading in favor of the director's vision.
I wouldn't call it bitterness. I would call it a battle for narrative control. The audience today is incredibly savvy. They listen to long-form interviews, they understand box office economics, and they value authenticity over polished PR.
They can smell fake PR a mile away now.
Absolutely. When a director speaks candidly about friction, it actually lends credibility to their art. It demystifies the filmmaking process. They are telling the audience, I fought for this vision. But it is a very delicate tightrope to walk.
Because they still need the stars.
Right, because those massive stars still guarantee the opening weekend numbers that keep the theatrical ecosystem alive. You can be angry at the system, but you still need the system's capital.
That anger Sinha is talking about. We actually saw the seeds of that years ago.
Mm.
I am thinking of that viral flashback video making the rounds that perfectly illustrates this collision of old-school swagger and changing media accountability.
The one with Salman Khan.
Yes. It is a clip from about 15 years ago. He makes a remark about having no scripts in his films, essentially leaning into that whole I just show up and wing it macho persona. But the interviewer immediately shuts him down mid-sentence.
I saw that clip. The interviewer just cuts in and says, it died 15 minutes ago, referring to that specific brand of unstructured filmmaking. It is such a stark contrast to how superstars were traditionally treated by the press.
They used to just let them talk.
Exactly. In the past, a star bragging about not needing a script would be written up as a charming anecdote about their raw magnetism. It was seen as proof of their genius. But the media, and by extension the audience, started demanding more rigor. They started demanding actual storytelling.
Let's explain what no script actually meant in that era, because to a listener today, that sounds insane. Back in the 80s and 90s, dialogue writers would sometimes literally be writing lines on the set, handing them to the actor minutes before the camera rolled.
Which sounds like an absolute nightmare for continuity.
Right. The star's presence was the movie. So when Salman was leaning into that, he was playing the hits. But you have this new era crashing in that demands narrative structure, accountability, and bound scripts. We're watching the tectonic plates of the industry shifting in real time.
And when tectonic plates shift, you get earthquakes.
There.
Which leads us to how the industry handles those earthquakes behind the scenes. Because for all this talk of directors speaking out and interviewers pushing back, there is still a massive protective inner circle in this business.
I was reading through those dispatches you brought, and the detail about the Dawn 3 mediation really caught my eye.
That is a fascinating situation.
The franchise is moving forward with Ranveer Singh taking over the mantle from Shah Rukh Khan, directed by Farhan Akhtar. But apparently, there has been a significant rift between Farhan and Ranveer. And who steps in to mediate? Aamir Khan and Hrithik Roshan.
Two absolute titans.
Right. But I have to ask you, is it really about industry harmony, or is this just a cartel protecting its investments? When top stars step in like this, doesn't it just reinforce the power monopoly at the top?
It is a bit of both, but you have to look at the sheer economics of it. The ecosystem is fragile, and the financial stakes are astronomical. An A-list project falling apart doesn't just hurt the director and the star, it hurts the studios, the distributors, the exhibitors, and the thousands of crew members who rely on that production.
Yeah, that is a lot of jobs on the line.
Exactly. Aamir Khan and Hrithik Roshan understand the business at a microscopic level. They recognize that maintaining harmony in an industry built on massive egos is essential for collective survival. It is a classic Godfather dynamic.
They carry that kind of weight.
They do. They have the seniority, the respect, and the box office clout to sit two passionate creative people down and say, look at the bigger picture. We have hundreds of crores on the line here. It shows that despite the modern corporate veneer of the film business, it still heavily relies on interpersonal relationships and old-school diplomacy.
It is such a stark contrast
Yeah.
to how chaotic things used to be. Speaking of the 90s, there was a quote from Sudha Chandran in the stack that had me laughing out loud, but also completely in awe.
How about Govinda?
Yes.
Yeah.
She was passionately defending Govinda's reputation in the press. Govinda has always carried this label of being notoriously late to sets, but Sudha Chandran pushed back hard. She recalled a time when he shot 6 films in 24 hours. 6 films. And she's demanding an Amitabh Bachchan-style comeback for him.
The visual of Govinda shooting 6 films in 24 hours is just staggering. Let's break down the logistics of that for you because it sounds impossible.
Please do, because the math does not compute in my head.
You have to picture Bombay in the 1990s, the traffic alone. You are jumping from a set in Film City, doing a quick costume change in the back of a non-air-conditioned ambassador car, rushing to Chandavali Studios, shooting a high-energy dance sequence, and then heading to Mehboob Studios for a dramatic monologue.
Just sweating through your makeup the whole time.
Exactly. If you divide 24 hours by 6 films, that is 4 hours per set, not including travel. It was an era of absolute, unadulterated chaos, fueled by pure adrenaline and physical endurance. Sudha Chandran is highlighting a work ethic that modern methodical actors would find completely incomprehensible.
Right. Compare that 90s chaos to someone like Aditi Rao Hydari today. We have a dispatch where Aditi is discussing how she navigates misinformation and what she calls random rubbish in the media.
It is a totally different mindset.
She credits grounding values for her resilience. She talks about reputation management and mental steadiness amid today's rapid discourse cycles. It is such a clinical, focused approach to being a public figure.
A survival tactic, really.
Govinda was surviving on vibes, zero sleep, and pure charisma, while modern stars have to have the mental steadiness of a Zen monk just to survive a trending hashtag on Twitter. Could Govinda even survive in today's industry?
That is precisely why I question whether an Amitabh Bachchan-style comeback is even possible for someone from that specific 90s era in today's hyper-scrutinized environment.
Because Bachchan did it differently.
Right. When Bachchan made his massive pivot in the early 2000s, transitioning from the aging leading man to the distinguished patriarch in Mohabbateen and on television with Kaun Banega Crorepati, the media landscape was much slower. He had room to breathe, to redefine his brand without a million think pieces dissecting his every move.
Today, they would be analyzing every frame of his promos on Twitter within seconds.
Exactly. The modern ecosystem is incredibly unforgiving. If you stumble, if you're late, if your PR is not immaculate, the discourse cycle moves on instantly.
The stakes just seem so much higher now, and the safety nets are gone for anyone outside that top 1%. Look at Rajpal Yadav's recent explosive interview.
That was a tough read.
He is talking openly about a check bounce case, legal battles, financial distress, and looking for support from the Bollywood fraternity, specifically mentioning an Akshay Kumar movie. Let's talk about the mechanics of a check bounce in Bollywood, because it shatters the illusion of glamour.
It really does pull the curtain back.
It is a stark reminder that beneath the red carpets, this is a ruthless freelance business. The 90s might have been chaotic, but there was a sense of a chaotic family. Today, if your PR is not perfect or your finances are not airtight, the industry machinery will just grind you up.
It is a sobering reality. The mediation of Amir and Krithik works for the absolute top tier of the A-list, the people who are too big to fail. But for the working actors, the character actors, the veterans trying to navigate a changed landscape, it is a daily fight for relevance and survival.
And a bounce check is disastrous.
Because a check bounce in this industry often means a domino effect. If a producer's funding falls through, the character actor doesn't get paid, which means they cannot pay their staff, and suddenly they are in a legal nightmare while their face is still plastered on billboards. It is a brutal dichotomy.
So what does this all mean for the actual product? From the struggles behind the camera to the triumphs at the ticket counters, let's pivot to the current state of the 2026 box office. Because while the behind-the-scenes drama is fascinating, the audience ultimately votes with their wallets. And right now, the audience is making some very specific, very strategic choices.
Let's look at the numbers. First up, let's analyze Mardaani 3. The box office report shows it collecting 24 lakhs on its 31st day. That is its 5th Sunday.
For a film to still be pulling in respectable numbers on its 5th weekend is incredibly rare in the modern theatrical window, isn't it? Usually a movie makes its money in the first 3 days and then drops off a cliff.
It speaks volumes about the slow burn, sustained success of female-led action franchises. The Mardaani series, spearheaded by Rani Mukherjee, doesn't rely on massive, front-loaded holiday weekends. It relies on intense word of mouth, strong procedural storytelling, and a very loyal audience base.
So people are telling their friends, you have to see this.
Exactly. Collecting 24 lakhs on day 31 means that the film has genuine theatrical legs. People are recommending it, and folks who missed the initial hype are still choosing to go to the theater rather than wait for streaming.
Which is huge for the theater owners.
Economically, this is massive for theater owners. In the fifth week, the exhibitor's share of the ticket price is often much higher than in week one. It is a massive victory for mid-budget, high-concept cinema, keeping the single screens and multiplexes breathing.
And then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, we have the opening weekend of the Kerala Story 2. The report states the film crossed 10 crores in its opening weekend alone. Now, we need to be very clear here. We are strictly looking at the box office mechanics. We are setting the political debates entirely aside and not taking any sides here.
Right. Our focus is strictly the industry impact and the math.
Exactly. What we're seeing is the sheer financial power of polarizing cinema. Whether you agree with the film's premise or vehemently oppose it, the data shows that controversy is driving immense foot traffic.
Absolutely. The producer, Vipul Shah, is quoted in the report saying, "People with biased minds ignored the point." From an analytical standpoint, this shows how highly controversial issue-based films function in the modern box office. They become cultural lightning rods.
The marketing almost writes itself.
The marketing strategy often leans into the controversy itself, mobilizing a very specific, highly motivated demographic to show up on opening weekend. A 10-crore opening for a film that likely has a very controlled production budget is a massive return on investment.
It proves there is a highly engaged audience looking for that kind of content.
It proves that there is an audience looking for cinema that aligns with or actively challenges contemporary socio-political discourse. Controversy is practically a genre of its own now.
It is all about finding your specific audience and mobilizing them. Which brings us to the strategic moves being made by the massive pan-India stars from the South. Let's actually define pan-India for a second because the term gets thrown around a lot.
It definitely gets overused.
For a film to truly be pan-India today, it isn't just about dubbing the audio into Hindi or Telugu. It is about casting actors from different regional industries, blending cultural aesthetics, and structuring the screenplay so it plays just as well in a single-screen theater in Uttar Pradesh as it does in a multiplex in Chennai. It is a massive logistical undertaking.
And that undertaking requires immense portfolio diversification from the stars. We have a dispatch about Dhanush's new film, Chor, locking an April 30 release date. It is being described as a revenge thriller, where he plays a cotton farmer.
So very gritty and rooted.
And on the flip side, we have Surya's next project, titled Vishwanath and Sons, aiming for July 2026. And this one is being billed as a heartwarming family drama.
So you have Dhanush going hyper-rural, and Surya going for the multi-generational tearjerker.
This is a masterclass in market capture. They understand that to maintain their pan-India appeal, they cannot just repeat the same massive action beats. Dhanush choosing a raw-rooted revenge thriller, playing a cotton farmer, taps into the agrarian grassroots demographic. It promises high-intensity emotion and grounds him in a reality that a large portion of the country relates to.
And Surya is going after the family crowd.
Meanwhile, Surya pivoting to a heartwarming family drama is a play for the traditional theatrical audience, the families who buy 4 or 5 tickets at a time. They are strategically staggering their genres to capture different quadrants of the market.
And speaking of rooted, localized storytelling, we also have Siddhant Chaturvedi teaming up with Ishqiya director Abhishek Chabe for a deeply personal story based in Balia, his actual hometown.
That is a fascinating combination. You have Abhishek Chabe, a filmmaker who is an absolute master of the North Indian heartland aesthetic. He understands the dialect, the dust, the dark humor of those regions better than almost anyone.
And Siddhant has a very different image right now.
Exactly. Pairing Chabe with Siddhant Chaturvedi, who has this very slick, urban, gully boy breakout image, and sending him back to his literal roots in Balia, that is a deliberate attempt to strip away the urban gloss and build a new kind of gritty authenticity.
So when you look at all these box office moves together, the sustained run of Mardaani 3, the lightning rod opening of the Kerala Story 2, the massive genre pivots of Dhanush and Surya and Siddhant heading back to Balia, what is the takeaway for you? Are audiences just gravitating towards extremes?
The data practically screams it. The audience wants either highly controversial, issue-based films that demand to be seen immediately to participate in the cultural conversation,
Or massive spectacles.
massive, visceral, pan-India action that requires a large screen, or ultra-rooted, deeply authentic, small-town stories that feel intimately real. What seems to be disappearing completely is the room for the average movie.
The safe bet.
The middle-of-the-road, generic romantic comedy or standard drama without a unique selling proposition is struggling to survive in theaters. You have to offer an experience that streaming cannot replicate, whether that is spectacle, controversy, or unparalleled authenticity.
You know what else I found amazing in this box office digest? The marketing tactics. For Suriya's film, Vishwanath & Sons, the article notes there's an active public poll asking, hit or miss, what do you think of Vishwanath & Sons' title and Suriya's look? I just had a laugh. How democratic and wonderfully interactive has movie marketing become?
It is wild.
They're literally crowdsourcing the critique of the lead actor's look before the first trailer even drops.
It is the ultimate evolution of the feedback loop. Studios are using the internet as a real-time, zero-cost focus group. If the poll comes back negative, you can bet they will tweak the color grading, adjust the styling, or change the poster design before the massive promotional push begins.
Must be terrifying for the actor, though.
Oh, it is terrifying for the artists, I'm sure, to have their look judged so early, but it is incredibly efficient risk management for the producers.
It is ruthless. Today's box office is an absolute pressure cooker.
Mm.
But as we were going through these modern numbers, you pulled a dusty 1954 reel out of your metaphorical archives that really put things in perspective.
Yeah.
Because early career flops have always been part of the game. Let's travel back in time for a minute.
Yes, let's look at the flashback note regarding the 1954 film Chor Bazar. This was directed by P.N. Arora, starring Sumitra Devi, and a very young Shami Kapoor.
Okay, set the scene for us. 1954 Bombay. What is Chor Bazar about?
The plot is essentially a dramatic thriller revolving around a precious stolen diamond. You have thieves, you have the police, and various characters all vying to secure this gem. It was intended to be a serious, straight-laced film, and Shami Kapoor, who had not yet found his signature style, was cast in a very serious, conventional leading man role.
I am geeking out over the music credits here. The legendary S.D. Burman composed the soundtrack. We are talking about timeless, immortal tracks like Yerat Yecha Nifir Kahan.
Absolute classics.
You can almost hear the black and white romance in that melody. S.D. Burman had this incredible ability to blend folk sensibilities with classical ragas. It is the kind of song that defines an era. With S.D. Burman music, a stolen diamond plot, and a Kapoor family scion, you would think it was a surefire hit, but it flopped.
It did. It didn't fare well at the box office at all. But this failure is one of the most important moments in Hindi cinema history because it provides brilliant synthesis on the concept of finding your brand.
How do you mean?
Think about Shami Kapoor as we know him today. The flamboyant, head-bobbing, energetic rebel star sliding down snowy hills in Kashmir, screaming Yahoo! The idea of him doing a restrained, serious, straight-laced role in a stolen diamond thriller is completely antithetical to the legend he became.
It is unimaginable. It would be like asking Jim Carrey to only do period dramas before he ever got to do Ace Ventura.
Exactly. If Chor Bazar had been a massive hit, Shami Kapoor might have been locked into a career of playing serious, brooding men in trench coats. The failure of that film and a few others from that early period actually freed him.
It forced him to pivot.
It forced him to look in the mirror and say, this conventional mold doesn't fit me. I need to invent something new. He pivoted, he embraced his natural exuberance, he studied Western rock and roll stars like Elvis, and he completely reinvented his persona. The failure of Chor Bazar is what gave us the Shami Kapoor we love today.
That is a profound way to look at it. I want you, the listener, to really consider this for a second. Think about the current crop of struggling actors. The ones who are constantly being cast as the generic romantic lead or the brooding action star, and their films just keep tanking. Which of them might just be one massive persona pivot away from becoming legends themselves?
Yeah, that is a great question.
Sometimes the industry keeps trying to force a square peg into a round hole, and it takes a box office disaster to finally break the mold.
It is a trial by fire, but we must also acknowledge how the consequences of that fire have changed. Back in 1954, if you had a flop like Chor Bazar, you were out of theaters, distributors lost real, tangible money, and your career was genuinely in jeopardy. It was a binary outcome, hit or disaster.
Whereas today, a flop just means you're moving to a streaming platform, which is the perfect thematic bridge into our next segment, the digital tsunami. Streaming has completely rewired the economics and the safety nets of this industry.
Let's look at the dispatch regarding Prabhas's recent film, The Raja Saab. The report notes that it underperformed at the theatrical box office after its January release. But immediately, the news pivots to its OTT debut for the Hindi version, which begins streaming post-Holi.
But doesn't this OTT safety net make filmmakers lazy? If you know you're getting a massive check from Amazon or Netflix, regardless of the theatrical box office, why push boundaries?
I see where you're coming from.
10 years ago, if a massive pan-India film like The Raja Saab underperformed, it would be a devastating blow. It would disappear from public consciousness. Today, the studio can lick their wounds, repackage it for the digital audience, and essentially give it a second opening weekend on a streaming dashboard. Millions of people who refuse to buy a ticket will click play on their couch. The financial model has a built-in shock absorber.
It does, but I would argue it doesn't make them lazy. It shifts where the risk is taken. And we have to look deeper into the economics. While OTT rights are a safety net, platforms are now increasingly restructuring deals based on theatrical performance. The fact that Raja Saab underperformed theatrically means the OTT platform might trigger clauses that reduce the final payout.
So it's not just a blank check anymore.
Exactly. But the point remains, the film doesn't die, it finds a secondary life. And OTT is not just a graveyard for theatrical underperformers, it is simultaneously the primary stage for incredible experimental casting. Look at the news about the upcoming project Subedar, which streams on March 5. Mona Singh is playing a character named Babli Didi, who is a sand mafia leader.
Mona Singh. The same Mona Singh who won everyone's hearts as the relatable girl next door in Jasi Jasi Koi Nahin, and who has built a career on deeply emotional, grounded roles. Now she is playing a ruthless sand mafia boss. That is incredible.
It is a massive departure, and it is entirely facilitated by the streaming ecosystem. Theatrical distributors might balk at putting Mona Singh on a poster as a mafia don, arguing it confuses her established brand. They would say the single-screen audience won't accept her with a gun.
But streaming audiences will.
Streaming algorithms reward novelty and niche storytelling. Actors are allowed to stretch their muscles in ways traditional cinema rarely permits because the financial risk of a single ticket sale is removed. And speaking of streaming options, did you see the massive drop of trailers in this digest?
Oh my goodness, the trailer tracker is dizzying. It is a perfect snapshot of the globalization of content. On a single dashboard, you have the final Hindi trailer for One Piece. Season 2, bringing global anime dominance to the local language.
Sitting right next to regional content.
Right next to it, you have Fights Break Sphere Season 2, which is a Mandarin martial arts and fantasy show dubbed in Hindi on Amazon MX Player. Then you have 53 Sundays on Netflix, a prestige family drama. You have HBO Max dropping trailers for regional American shows like DTF St. Louis. And of course, the Wayans brothers returning for Scary Movie 6. It is an absolute tsunami of content from every corner of the planet.
And this is the reality Indian actors and filmmakers are competing against. They aren't just competing with the Bollywood film releasing on the same Friday anymore. They are competing with Hindi-dubbed Mandarin martial arts, Hollywood legacy sequels, and global anime phenomenons, all sitting in the exact same recommendation carousel. The consumer's attention is infinitely fragmented.
Which leads to some very funny anomalies in the metadata. I'd have to gently roast the source digest here for a second. There is a trailer listed for Jab Kuli Kitab, which stars the absolute legends Pankaj Kapoor and Dimple Kapadia. But the text describes it as a captivating Hollywood drama that explores the intertwining lives of individuals who discover hidden truths.
A Hollywood drama.
I mean, unless Pankaj Kapoor secretly moved to Los Angeles and joined the Screen Actors Guild without telling anyone, I am pretty sure this is a deeply rooted Indian story. It is just a hilarious little typo, but it highlights how fast these digital platforms are churning out descriptions for global audiences. The machine is moving so fast that someone just hit the Hollywood drama tag by mistake.
It is a funny observation, but it underscores the sheer volume of output. But for the actors, navigating this global algorithm requires serious strategy. Look at the piece on Tejaswi Prakash. She is a massive star on traditional Indian television. Now she is opening up about her OTT debut and specifically discussing doing bold scenes.
That is a fascinating evolution. Television in India is heavily regulated, extremely traditional, and caters to a very specific family viewing demographic. It is the living room medium.
Very different from streaming.
For a TV actor to jump to streaming, they almost have to announce a shedding of that wholesome image to signal to the OTT audience that they are ready for mature, complex storytelling. Tejaswi pivoting to bolder scenes is not just a creative choice. It is a necessary evolution to compete in a space where shows like Mirzapur or Sacred Games set the tone.
Exactly. You have to prove you can operate without the censorship constraints of daily soaps. And on the flip side of that, you have platforms investing in deeply relatable, almost anxiety-inducing realism. Prime Video just set a premiere date for TVF's Aspirant Season 3.
Oh, people love that show.
When you contrast the high-stakes global pirate treasure hunt of One Piece with the gritty, hyper-realistic study room anxiety of Aspirants, which is about the grueling UPSC civil service exams in India, you see the vast, incredible spectrum of what Indian audiences are consuming. They want the wildest fantasy, and they want a mirror held up to their most stressful real-life struggles.
It is a wild time to be a viewer. But while streaming platforms offer controlled, highly curated narratives, there's a whole other side of the industry that operates on completely uncontrolled narratives. I am talking about the personal lives, the off-screen spectacles, the paparazzi dances, and the political ripples. Let's shift gears and look at the real-world drama of the stars themselves.
This is where the intersection of commerce, culture, and celebrity becomes truly unavoidable. Let's start with the weddings, because they're always a fascinating barometer of stardom. We have the report on Vijay Deverakonda and Rashmika Mandanna's wedding preparations.
Okay, the details here are staggering. Vijay Deverakonda bought a 16-stone diamond ring. A 16-stone diamond ring. The sheer opulence of that is hard to even conceptualize. But in the exact same news cycle, we have a report about Rashmika Mandanna visiting Vijay's native village, Thumanpet. She is warmly received by the locals, greeted with loud cheers, waving at fans, smiling. It is this incredible juxtaposition.
It perfectly encapsulates the fascinating dual life strategy of modern Indian stars. On one hand, they operate in an echelon of extreme luxury that rivals Hollywood royalty. The 16-stone diamonds, the international designer wardrobes, the global brand ambassadorships.
Right, living completely out of reach of the normal person.
But on the other hand, their brand equity, especially in the South Indian industries, is deeply tied to their rooted traditionalism. To maintain their massive devoted fan bases, they have to effortlessly bridge the gap between aspirational wealth and deeply relatable humility. Rashmika greeting the villagers in Thumanpet is not just a sweet personal moment, it is vital cultural messaging. It says, no matter how big we get, no matter how many diamonds we wear, we are still connected to the earth here.
It is a brilliant balance. And we see similar high-profile blending of industry royalty at Alu Sirish and Nayanika Reddy's pre-wedding bash. The guest list is a who's who of legacy power. You have Mohan Babu and Balakrishna attending. These events are not just parties, they are summits. They solidify alliances and reinforce the hierarchy of the film fraternities.
But the off-screen persona can also be a source of immense friction and risk. We have a very serious report regarding Prakash Raj. According to the Dispatch, his political comments have sparked a major debate in the film industry and raised concerns among producers.
And again, looking strictly at the industry mechanics and production risks here, setting aside the specific content of his political views, what does this mean for the business?
If we connect this back to our earlier conversation about Anubhav Sinha and the audacity of directors, we see a parallel trend. The off-screen persona, the personal beliefs, and the political opinions of an artist now have a direct, immediate, and quantifiable impact on the financial security of a project.
It wasn't always like that, was it?
In the past, an actor's political leanings might be known anecdotally, but they rarely threaten the theatrical release of a film. Today, in an era of hyper-connected social media, a single comment can trigger boycott calls or distributor panic. Producers are increasingly nervous because they are investing hundreds of crores into a product, and they realize that the star's off-screen narrative is now completely intertwined with the film's on-screen viability. It's a massive financial liability.
It is an incredible amount of pressure. Every time a star steps out of their door, they are managing a narrative. Which brings us to the ultimate facilitators of that narrative, the paparazzi. This digest is full of these micro-interactions with the paps that show just how symbiotic this relationship has become.
They cannot live without each other.
You have Ranbir Kapoor making a witty jibe when the paps get too close. You have Kiara Advani sweetly posing, Shahid Kapoor waving before getting in his car. Tiger Shroff literally celebrating his birthday by cutting a cake with the media.
It is a highly managed yet seemingly candid media dance. 10 years ago, the paparazzi culture in India was seen as intrusive and largely antagonistic. Today, it is an essential pillar of a celebrity's PR strategy. Staying relevant means staying visible on Instagram Reels.
So the cake cutting isn't just a nice gesture.
When Tiger Shroff cuts a cake with the photographers, he's generating goodwill that translates into positive digital coverage. When Ranbir Kapoor makes a witty joke, it humanizes him and creates a viral moment. They are feeding the beast, but they are doing it on their own terms.
And some stars are bypassing the traditional media entirely to become their own broadcasters. We have a dispatch about Kriti Sanon posting a Get Ready With Me, a GRWM video. She's doing her own makeup, talking directly to the camera, giving fans a behind-the-scenes look at her process. And it starts even younger. Did you see the note about Sunny Leone's daughter, Nisha?
Yes, she is 10 years old and she is already selling her patented boo box for 999 rupees. Sunny Leone noted that she is already making her own money.
A 10-year-old star kid launching a patented product. When I was 10, my biggest entrepreneurial venture was trying to rent out my brother's old comic books for 5 rupees, and here Nisha is holding a patent. It makes you realize that the concept of celebrity has fundamentally shifted.
It's a completely different game now.
You aren't just an actor anymore. You are an entrepreneur, a lifestyle brand, and a content creator. Why wait for a magazine to do a feature on you when you can do a GRWM video to millions of followers or launch a product line before you even hit high school? It is the democratization of fame mixed with absolute hypercapitalism.
It truly is. And it happens globally. Notice how the Digest casually throws in the rumors of Tom Holland and Zendaya secretly getting married right alongside the updates on Kiara Advani and Shahid Kapoor.
I love that detail. It paints such a vivid audio picture of how we consume gossip today. You have Rashmika smiling in a rural Indian village on one tab and international rumors of Spider-Man's secret wedding on the next. The audience consumes local tradition and global Hollywood megastars with the exact same fervor. The lines between domestic and international celebrity are completely blurred.
Absolutely. The audience's appetite for narrative, both on-screen and off-screen, is insatiable. Which brings us to our final roundup. Let's pull all these disparate threads together and look at what is actively bubbling in the production pipelines. Let's take our time here because there is some incredible anticipation building.
First up, pure nostalgia meets modern marketing. Akshay Kumar and director Priyadarshan are reuniting after 14 years for Booth Bongla. This is the team that gave us absolute comedy gold like Hera Fairy and Bhool Bhulaiya. They kicked off promotions with a sky-high entry at a college in Nashik alongside Wamika Gabi.
The economic power of nostalgia cannot be overstated. After a string of serious or socially driven films, the audience is craving the impeccable comedic timing that Akshay Kumar and Priyadarshan perfected in the 2000s. And the horror comedy genre is arguably the most lucrative theatrical bet in India right now.
It is printing money.
Doing a massive viral stunt at a college in Nashik shows they know exactly who their core audience is. The youth who grew up watching their older films on satellite television loops, they are tapping directly into millennial and Gen Z childhood memories.
Speaking of horror and highly anticipated sequels, Nawazuddin Siddiqui is officially joining Soham Shah in Tumbad 2. The report specifically calls his role pivotal to the film's immersive universe. Now, what does an immersive universe actually mean in this context?
Tumbad was a sleeper hit that grew into a cult classic through sheer atmospheric brilliance. It was a localized, mythological horror story. By adding an actor of Nawazuddin's caliber to the sequel and using phrases like immersive universe, they aren't just making a follow-up, they're expanding the mythology.
So building out a whole world.
In the modern industry, a universe means long-term IP valuation. It means potential spin-offs, merchandising, and interconnected storylines. Audiences today are prioritizing these cinematic universes and event films over traditional standalone narratives. They want a world they can get lost in, decode, and theorize about on Reddit.
But building those massive worlds takes a severe physical toll. We have a sobering update from Ahan Kande. He revealed he had to undergo major shoulder surgery after his debut film, Sayara. Now he is prepping for an Ali Abbasafar action romance, which means another significant physical transformation.
It is a reminder of the brutal physical demands of modern action cinema. The choreography is faster, the stunts are harder, and the physical expectations placed on young actors to look like superheroes are monumental. It is no longer just about looking good on screen. It is about physically surviving the production. The human cost of these cinematic universes is very real.
And then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum of effort, you have the ultimate unparalleled superstar flex. According to the Digest, Salman Khan is using his own personal white horse in the romantic song Main Hoon alongside Chitrangda Singh for the upcoming film Battle of Galwan.
I have to pause here. That is a level of stardom that is almost impossible to replicate.
Right. The logistics of transporting your personal horse to a film set just for a romantic song. And again, looking neutrally at the production scale of Battle of Galwan, without delving into the real-world geopolitics of the title. Just the visual of Salman Khan bringing his own horse to work is incredible. It is the ultimate I am the franchise move.
It highlights the contrast we have been tracking all day. You have young actors undergoing major surgery just to break into the action space, and you have legacy stars casually integrating their personal equestrian hobbies into multi-million-dollar productions. It is a vast, wildly unequal industry.
Let's hit some final music and TV bites. The song Tabahi from the film Toxic, featuring Yash and Kiara, dropped its audio without the video, and fans are already reacting to just the soundscape. We have the OTT debut of the young Sherlock series, starring hero Fiennes Tiffin. Reports of the Durandar, the Revenge trailer runtime are going viral. People are analyzing the length of a trailer.
That shows how hungry the fans are.
And in the television space, the ZTV serial Saru has a major spoiler involving the character Annika finding a spade, which I am sure will lead to some fantastic, high-decibel primetime melodrama. Plus, the Dangal TV show Ishtu Nuni is highlighting the traditional Pag Fira Rasam ceremony.
Let's explain Pag Fira Rasam for those who might not know. It is a deeply traditional post-wedding ritual where the bride returns to her maternal home for the first time.
Right.
The fact that a daily soap is highlighting this shows how television remains the anchor for traditional cultural narratives, while OTT platforms, as we discussed with Tejasvi Prakash, are pushing for mature, boundary-pushing content. It perfectly illustrates the split personality of Indian entertainment.
It is a perfect cross-section of the culture. But what gives me real hope for the future of all this is the final piece of news in our stack. The Z Short Film Contest hosted a director's roundtable featuring Ravi Jadhav, P. Samuthrakani, Anurag Kashyap, Hemant Rao, Srijit Mukherjee, and Rajiv Masand. They were specifically discussing opportunities and grassroots funding for emerging filmmakers.
And this is so critical. We spend so much time talking about hundreds of crores, 16 stone diamonds, and superstar mediations. But the lifeblood of cinema starts at the grassroots. Having veterans like Anurag Kashyap, who famously struggled for years with unreleased films, sit down to discuss short films is how the next generation finds their footing. It demystifies the path from holding a DSLR camera to directing a feature film.
I love seeing that. It connects the massive, established machinery of the industry back to the raw, unpolished talent trying to tell a story with a camera and a dream.
And those young filmmakers in that contest are the ones who will eventually direct the stars of tomorrow. They are the ones who will redefine the archetypes that Suraj Barjatia was talking about at the very beginning of our deep dive.
Wow. We have truly come full circle. Look at your desk. The binders are closed. The highlighters are capped. We did it. We made it through the stack.
We covered an immense amount of ground today.
We really did. We have summarized the sheer overwhelming scale of this industry. We traveled back to the 1954 box office struggles of Shami Kapoor and Chor Bazar, and traced how that spirit of reinvention leads right up to the OTT safety nets of 2026. We explored how the enduring powers of love and anger are still driving the storytelling, whether it is in the hyper-violent world of Animal, the sustained procedural action of Mardaani 3, or the rooted local narratives of Balia.
And the changing power dynamics.
Right. We looked at how directors are finding the audacity to challenge superstars, and how industry elders still have to step in to keep the peace.
And through all of this, we have seen how the audience's role has fundamentally changed. They are voting in polls for movie titles, they are demanding narrative accountability, and they are consuming the global and the local with equal enthusiasm. But it leaves me with a final provocative thought for you to ponder.
Oh, I love a good final thought. Lay it on us.
We have seen directors calling out superstars, actors retreating to their hometowns to tell personal stories, and producers incredibly nervous about political opinions. In an era where audiences demand complete transparency from their stars, from their intimate makeup routines in a Get Ready With Me video to their off-screen political views, are we losing the actual magic of the movies? Or are we just redefining what a movie star is supposed to be? When the curtain is pulled back so completely, does the illusion survive, or does it just evolve into something more brutally real?
That is a brilliant question. Something for all of us to mull over the next time we sit down at a dark theater or fire up a streaming app. The illusion might be changing, but the stories are more fascinating than ever.
They always are.
From headlines to heartbeats, you've been listening to Bollywood Deep Dive by IndiaRevue.com. Catch you where the stories are.